others will think of it, or what will be the consequences. Suppose I say something that they don't like. And when you are in leadership, you have to just make sure that fear is taken away from your mind. Our former President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, has said, fear got two meanings. One is forget everything and run. And the next is face everything and rise. So we should really have such a huge responsibility to just make sure our movement grow further to the extent that we are thinking of or dreaming of. And that is why it is very clearly written. The mistakes may not limit us, but the fear will. The mistake will not limit us. It will only make us learn better. But the fear always limits us from functioning. And that is the most important thing we all have to know. Because when we completed these 2 years, and we are still struggling to have an international account outside India. And we have so many clubs outside India, but we don't have an account to collect the subscription from them so far. And many of the people, maybe members from different levels, they think that it is a responsibility of the international president or the international office bearers. It is not the responsibility of a particular group of people. It is the responsibility of each and every one of us. Our contacts all over the world. Every one of us who are sitting here have connections across the world, I know personally. And the effort taken by any of them is not even mentioned, any time whenever I spoke to them, different occasions. So it is a necessity for us to see that the whole global presence in our movement. And we have to make sure that our movement is an international organization where every citizens who are from different countries, who are involved in our activities and who are there in our international procedure, who are there in our international program directorship, and all these things, we have to foresee and see that, we have to see it happening as early as possible. And initially, we have just informed, all the officers who have taken the responsibility that they have these responsibilities for 2 years. And now onwards, it may be 1 year or 2 years, depend on the performance of each one of them. But we have the responsibilities to just inform the international community that we have one constitution that is already brought in and it is implemented. And in that constitution it says we have one subscription for all the members all over the world. And all these things, we have to just think of, because we have mentioned, wherever I went outside India, I have informed them that, we have subscription only about $15. And this $15 for all the members of the clubs. And one incident, I just want to mention with a little pain, because earlier when we had a movement called Weissman International. It is still there. And the Indians got an exemption from paying the full amount to the international. And that particular incident brought a very bad name for us in the International Council. And we just got a concession of 40% from paying into the international. And one of the Europeans very abusively talked to one of our leaders saying that you are only 40% less than us. That means you are only 60%, we are 100%. That is the attitude of the people all over the world. You have to make sure we are at par with anyone and everyone. And whenever we just give an information to the international that it is in the, wherever we have gone, we have discussed this. So you have to keep it in mind, when we discuss about our important decisions about subscription and other details, because we are an international organization. We go out and meet people anywhere across the world. All those things are our responsibility as members of this movement. Because we have to make sure that they have sufficient funds to function effectively. Any leader who comes as a district governor or a regional chair or the area president or the international president, all their teams should have sufficient funds to function, and unless they are supported by the members, it will be difficult for the growth of the movement in the future. And it is not a very, very small thing I'm talking about. Anybody can say that, yes, first 2 years we have got like this, but even then, we have grown to the level. If we bring out all those members who have joined us into our movement, definitely we have more than about 5,000 membership. But we have only about 2,000 or 2,500 membership who have paid. And these kind of activities all should bring into the International Presidium meeting. And that is about when he joins and when he becomes a member. His responsibilities should be known to him, and he should be able to understand as a member how much he can contribute to this movement, not the leaders to them. Like Kennedy said, what the country can do for me, not what I can do for the country. That is the way we should be thinking. So it is very important. The fear in everybody's mind. I'll give you one small example for somebody. You all must have heard about George Burns, who was an Oscar-winning actor, who acted in the movie Oh God. And he used to smoke about 20 cigars in his younger days. And he started reducing it, and when he became 100 years, he used to smoke about 5 cigars. And he went for an interview with one of the very leading news channel. And the anchor asked him, what your doctor says about your smoking. He said, my doctor is dead and gone. The things that we should realize is what we are is our responsibility. It is just like Walt Stack, he used to run the Golden Gate Bridge up and down. That is about 5.7 kilometers. And every day the Golden Gate Bridge shine or rain or wind, whatever it is. So in one of the very winter season, and he was finishing this running and coming, and somebody asked him, what keeps you from chattering your teeth? He's about 85 years old man. My teeth, I keep it in the locker. See the kind of confidence in people. Age is not a factor. you have certain things in your mind, yes, I am going to achieve, whether irrespective of my age, I am about 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. As a young mind, I have to fulfill certain responsibilities. And it is like going and getting things done the way you want. And the way you want, the way you get it, only will come out with it. Because unless you just do it, you will not know how. Because the fear always stops you from doing what exactly you need to do. That is where the problem is. Many of the people, when I talk to them, why not we have some good clubs in some of these places? And they say we don't have a good credential. The credentials are, we are only 2 years old. We have, our membership is only below 5,000 members. And we don't even have the capacity to go to a corporate office and ask for some kind of a CSR fund for any of our projects, because they just compare ourselves immediately with Rotary or Lions or all those big organizations. And all these things will give us some kind of a restriction, from doing what exactly we want to do. So as the leaders of this movement, I have a request with all of you. Make a commitment for the coming year. That commitment should be that, our club, all the members who are involved with this movement, 100% of them will be reporting to the international, and 100% of them will be paying the subscription. And if possible, make necessary addition by bringing in funds for the development for the organization. There are certain things, just I have a discussion, during your meetings, you are going to have a discussion. That, I thought of just bringing you a suggestion. Every club should be graded depending on the number of members. If it is possible, that grade, irrespective of the which club, what club, whose club, it is not important. But how many members and the quality members in that movement, and whether, if it is 10 members in a club, you can give a grade for it. If it is 20, another grade. If it is 30, another grade. Then just see that they are given more powers and more voting rights. It can attract more members, and there will be effort from these clubs to bring in more members and make sure that they will all enter their names of the members in the portal. There are international donations normally in every organizations. So we can just introduce donations for the development of this movement, along with the charity organizations, where we want to get involved, and we need funds for that. So there was a suggestion that a fellowship can be made in the name of a particular individual who was more involved in the movement, and he just left us some time ago. And there was a suggestion came from one of the regions. I said, we should have some way of introducing this fellowship in his name, and there should be some contribution from members who become a fellow in that name. And we can introduce major donorship and other donors in different names. It is all, I am putting the suggestions in front of you. When you have the discussions, just, or if possible, make sure that we have a decision by the time we leave with these kind of important, um, the doctor I was talking about, Dr. Shivankar Nair, who was such a loving, the contribution that he has made to this organization even without attending a single meeting was something extraordinary. So I was just suggesting that we should introduce a fellowship in his name, and it is very much necessary. Keep it in your mind. Then the honorary members. See, I am a major donor in Rotary because I was in Rotary for a long time. And there they collect about $10,000 for a major donor. And these funds are all kept and they have huge funds available. There are a lot of people interested in contributing if we have a good project to go on. But we have selected a good project. And that project is the renal care, it was the suggestions came from this group. And we have done excellently. So far about 15 machines, we have given. And one more is going to be added very soon in Trivandrum with a matching grant contribution from the international. And that also will be done. And we have made some houses for different, poor people and given them. But with this very meager amount, what we are collecting, we could do so much. And we are planning to introduce more of these kind of activities. And you should be able to participate in all these events. And that is where the involvement is really coming in. So there is a lot of things that we have to do. And we should have a very creative discussion along with every one of your leaders and your members, and whatever we can do, just think of it and make sure that we have a proper functioning of this movement from this year. It was running properly, yes, there is no doubt about it. But there are certain drawbacks. The drawbacks I already mentioned. All the members who have joined are not reflecting in the portal, and that should be avoided. And all those who can contribute should be given the importance of recognizing them in your own club or in your own society, wherever it is, a district or region or wherever it is. They should be recognized properly. And all these acts, we have to do to make them come to us again and again, just to bring in more members. So with these words, I have great pleasure in inaugurating this training session and all your interactions. We have an IPM meeting after this, and you should have a proper interaction with each other and come to some kind of good conclusion what exactly we should be doing. Individuals' suggestion, it is the suggestion from every one of you is the most important, and we should definitely see that it is all taken into proper study, and we will try to implement it. Thank you so much.